right, we have a superstar here, a great guest. I'd like to ingratiate myself by saying my homegirl. I mean, we all grew up here in Las Vegas. She did great things in the entertainment world. Miss Kim Flowers began in the entertainment industry as a model, a dancer, and actress. During her 35-year career, she has toured throughout the United States, Europe, South America, and the Middle East, representing prestigious brands such as Bob Mackie, Pepe Jean, Billington, Macy's, Ralph Lauren, and Ellen Tracy. She was a principal dancer in the Don Arden's world-renowned show Jubilee. Kim worked in films, includes Rocky IV and Wild Orchard. She has co-produced the feature film Misguided Behavior. Among her many professional honors and achievements, Kim is most proud of receiving a 1997 Businesswoman of the Year from the Black Chamber of Commerce of the state of Nevada. Ms. Flowers serves as a member of the board of directors of Vision Theatrical. Ms. Flowers also serves as a member of the board of directors of Mountaintop Faith Ministries of Las Vegas. Ms. Flowers is committed to being an intricate part in helping others to develop and utilize their gifts and talents to pursue their dreams and goals. Voted Woman of the Year by Black Women in Business 2008, Small Business Administration Business Person of the Year 2004, Businesswoman of the Year by Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. Welcome. To my homegirl.
You're a lucky man.
Yes, I mean, she's younger than I am, so let's don't get it twisted.
I didn't.
But we grew up here in Vegas, and I know the older parts of her family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, fellas, for having me. I appreciate being
We
here today.
love having you, and our whole theme is about the evolution of Las Vegas. The hospitality evolution of Las Vegas, and you are the epitome of what our theme is all about. You have worked in Rocky IV. Matter of fact, the credits, when Rocky went off the air, at the end of the movie, they show this beautiful showgirl, and the credits run across her. That's Kim. That's Miss Flowers.
It's Rocky IV.
And I've seen her in pictures and with James Brown and Grace Jones, and I mean she's been with all the stars, and she has helped. Most importantly, her uncle is who?
The Brown Bomber. This is the book. What can I say?
Joe Louis.
Yeah.
Joe Louis.
And we're going to get into your career as one of the first black showgirls here in Las Vegas. And, what did that entail? I know that was somewhat of a challenge, and obviously it's evident that you overcame those challenges. But also people don't know what artists go through to get to the top of their game. And Dr. Peacock, who as I've shared with you, was senior vice president of several mega resorts. So he has interfaced not only with boxing, but entertainers during his tenure as senior vice president of Mandalay Bay, the Excalibur, along with the general manager of the Hacienda, and Luxor. So wow. Luxor. But I want to ask you this. How many years, were you born in Vegas?
No, I wasn't. I was actually born in New York, and I was blessed with the day that my mother flew me to Las Vegas. I had no idea where I was going at age 12. She said, you're going to go live with your uncle and your auntie. And to me, it was frightening. I'd never been on a plane before. And my dad said, you're going to need this. It was a pack of Wrigley Spearmint gum of all things. I kept thinking, why am I going to need this? Well, I got in the plane. I was crying so bad. The woman said, "What's wrong?" I said, "My ears hurt." She said, "Chew the gum." The higher we got, I chewed the gum and I was able to hear the pressure. A landing in Las Vegas, I didn't know who to look for. I'd never seen my aunt before, or even my uncle for that matter. They picked me up. She picked me up and took me. Says, "I've got an errand." We went to the International Hilton, Las Vegas Hilton on Paradise. We come up, I've never seen a Valley Parker, not in New York or Jersey. Do you see those? These guys run out and they say, "Miss Lewis, Mr. Lewis is on the golf course with Elvis, and we need the extra golf club." She opened the trunk and they took him out. They, "Elvis, Mr. Lewis, what's going on?" I had no idea that what my life was going to be like, because I went to our home and we lived in the house that Johnny Carson had here in Las Vegas, 3333 Seminole Circle. And it was just one celebrity after another. Everyone from Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Tommy Hearns. Everyone stopped at our home. The day that Altavice Davis and Sammy were in our house cooking collard greens, I was like, "That's Sammy Davis
Can you
Jr."
believe this is
Yes,
fantastic?
it was amazing. And so I consider myself the female version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Go ahead.
Coming from back east and coming
Great.
here into a life, I call my friends and say, "Oh my God, we've got a television in every room, telephones, baby grand pianos." It was amazing, just amazing. And I attended Bishop Gorman High School as well, boot.
Yes.
Of course, Bishop Gorman.
Yes.
Yeah, one of
Where
the top
else, huh?
schools in our city for academics and athletics.
Yes, yes.
Now, I wanted to ask you this: when you came out here, were you thinking about being in show business, or did you meet so many illustrious stars that you kind of said, I want to do that? What caused you to be one of the first black showgirls on the Strip?
That's interesting, and I'm glad you said that, because as a young child, yes, you want to be in show business, but you have no way to really get there. Coming to Las Vegas was able to jumpstart that for me, because the wife of Joe Lewis was Martha Malone Lewis. She was a first African-American attorney. She practiced for Jimmy Hoffa. She had a no-nonsense mindset. She said, "You can do anything that you put your mind to. If you say yes, you will. If you say no, no doesn't exist. It means not right now until you figure it out." So she allowed me to grow. She raised the bar so high that I achieved everything. When I said I was trying out for something in school, she says, "You're going to get it." And I got it because my aunt said so. So she had that mindset. And when I took dance classes and everything, she cheered me on. Never, not once did I get "you can't do that." So it helped fuel me. So when I auditioned for anything, I got it because I had my mind made up. So when I auditioned for Jubilee, 200 dancers auditioned. They hired 6 people. I was one of the 6. It was just amazing. So that show helped me jumpstart the rest of my life, because I knew if I could make those odds.
6 out of how many again?
200.
Think about that. That is incredible.
I learned to shine. My aunt taught me how to shine. Smile and give it your all. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And it worked.
Yes.
That is wonderful. So now, she was a big mentor for you. I know the champ, Joe Lewis, he wasn't the type of guy that did a lot of talking, because
Exactly.
his fishes would do all the talking. But I know that he was a host over at Caesar's Palace. Did he impart any words of wisdom to you as you were growing up, or was he the type of guy that if a young man came to try to date you, he would come there with his boxing gloves on?
Imagine that one.
That's funny. A little bit of all of those things. My uncle became my legal guardian to be here. So most people thought I was his daughter, but just his niece. But my uncle would always ensure that whatever we wanted to do, he made sure that it was going to be possible. He was a man of very few words, but his actions spoke louder. It really was my Aunt Martha who drove everything. She was an attorney, corporate for Caesar's Palace as well. My uncle was, of course, a host there. He was a gentle giant. People could go up to Mr. Lewis and say, "I lost all my money," and he'd reach in his pocket and give him whatever he had. He was always being kind to people, always smiling. He loved golf. That's what he loved.
Yes, he did.
He was super duper passionate about that, and he paved the way for people like Althea Gibson. And even here in the Moulin Rouge, my uncle was a pillar of this community. And so Caesars, along with Willie Mays, they brought them in to be casino host. And he was just there to be a greeter, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So he knew everybody. And one of his best friends was Ash Resnick and Maurice Shanker, a lot of great people in this town.
People we know.
Yes.
Those were the movers and shakers, and they contributed so much. You interfaced with a lot of those
guys.
Yes,
well, I think Ash was one of them. Yes. I'm trying to think of his daughter's name, or was a newscaster.
Dana Resnick. We went to Gorman together. One of our best friends who used to travel a lot as family.
Dana Resnick, absolutely. Yes. So, yes. Oh.
And now, growing up in the house with your aunt and your uncle, and you would see all of these stars that you would see on television, did you ever kind of get used to it after a while?
Well, the first time I was starstruck, and my aunt told me to never do that again. I think I cried real tears. We went to a show at Caesar's Palace. We were always invited there and to go backstage, Diana Ross and everyone. It wasn't until I saw, it was Clifton Davis and I can't think of the young lady's name. But meanwhile, I was like, oh my God, that's Clifton Davis. And she was like, calm down. He's just a human being. And I realized people are just people. They have a gift. And you can appreciate that gift. And so I knew every show we went to, from Wayne Newton to, my God, Frank Sinatra, I would sit there in awe to think that's amazing. They get to do the thing that they love, and they're able to be pretty with it. Mm-hmm. So that stayed in my mind, and I knew that's what I knew I belonged on stage at that point.
Oh, great.
Now, any show you wanted to go to, a Sinatra show, you could go, because all your uncle had to do was say...
I didn't know what a comp was. I didn't know that there was a thing called a city ledger either. So we got comps to everything. I'd bring, after the football games at Gorman, I'd bring all my friends over to Caesar's Palace. We'd go in the coffee shop, and my uncle would get us a comp. I didn't know there was a city ledger that went back. It was actually a bill that went to him. They wrote it off, I'm sure. But yeah, and any concert, any show, it didn't, at any hotel. It didn't matter if it was Frontier, if it was Aladdin Hotel.
So you're the right person for our podcast on evolution.
Look at this man right here. I mean, I can imagine everybody would open the door, take care of you, definitely.
And you know what's interesting about my Uncle Joe? There are a lot of great boxers out there, but they said Joe Louis was so kind and he was a gentleman. They had high rollers that would travel on junkets from all over to see who? Joe Louis. They would want to go to the hotel because I'm going to play golf with Joe. I'm going to shake his hand. They took tons of pictures. There's even a statue over there at Caesar's.
That's an incredible side story. The golfer, Mr. Lewis. Who would have? I didn't know that. I didn't. I want to find out what his handicap was.
You know what, Dr. Peacock? Yes. There are a lot of athletes that have taken up golf.
Michael Jordan.
You just name them. Sometimes later, not so. I picked up golf in my early 50s. Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to play golf when I was a teenager, but I thought golf wasn't a real manly game. Mm-hmm. That's how much I knew. But when you start playing this game, it's physical and mental. And you have to control your
temper.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
You knew exactly where you go. Exactly.
Well, speaking of the evolution of hospitality in Vegas, we want to dissect that with you because you have to be a guru for this information. Let's talk about service in hotels. Mm-hmm. When you first got here, and I know you frequent all the hotels, and you went from coffee shop to fine dining, what are some of the things that you have seen improve, or we don't have the white glove treatment anymore? What have you seen? Let's just talk about restaurants from coffee shop to fine dining.
Well, the difference to me that I see today, and I miss the days of old, because when you went to the coffee shop, back in the day, people in the hotel knew you by name pretty much. They knew you by name. When you go into the coffee shop, it was an experience, and they really serviced you. Everyone was very kind, very different from New York and back east.
Oh, yeah.
Vegas was a total service industry. And because they lived on tips, you took good care of your waitresses and your waiters and your servers, even the maitre d's, even the hostess seating you. So that was different than when you went to fine dining, the Bacchanal or any of the top restaurants. Oh, it was a creme de la creme. If you went to a show, you knew the captain, the maitre d', you took care of everyone. It was just the way it was. It was a code of honor, actually. People dressed differently. I miss those days.
When people had to dress up.
We had to dress. I remember in 1976 at the MGM going to see the Jackson 5, and I was 12. I had a full-length gown with a little marabou feather hoodie on it, and my nephews and my cousins, we had tuxedos. Everyone dressed up. We went to the dinner show. And then backstage afterwards to sit with Diana and with the Jackson 5, it was a different time now. I miss people dressing up. I miss the service that we had then.
I think when, and you know, I would have to defer to you because you've been a part of so many mega resorts. But I think people act differently when they dress up. I think they act kinder and nicer and more mannerable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I really think that, you know, because it's a formal setting, you know, not so much informal. You know, you don't hear people that are dressed up in tuxedos cursing or
drinking a beer.
And that's not a
yelling
stereotype.
Yes.
And it's reciprocated. From the service side, they treat you well because you look well and you act different. It's, you know, someone comes in some cutoffs and you're like, this is a fine restaurant. Why are you dressed that way? So it's a different culture that we live in today. I mean, there was a time you couldn't even go in the casino if you were not dressed properly.
Exactly.
From the children to the adults. Those are things that I really miss now. It wasn't about money. It was about class and elegance and style. The young men, and all the women, everyone dressed wonderful. We would go to the fights, and I'm telling you, people dressed to the nine. It was a beautiful experience. Frank Sinatra gave a dinner for my uncle that raised a lot of money. I think it was $1,000 plate dinner at Caesars. And everyone was dressed from Telly Savalas to Lucille Ball to Jim Kelly. I mean, just everyone. It was amazing. Black tie.
Absolutely.
But people dress like that all the time anyway.
Yeah, that was their norm.
That was their norm.
That was the normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
You know, with the you know, we talked about the food side. How about the entertainment side? I mean, we Vegas has evolved from gambling to gaming to entertainment, and now we're sports and entertainment, right?
All those things. I mean, you just think back when you would go into a showroom, you had a maitre d', and then you had a captain take you either to King's Row or someplace, work your way around. Think of how that's been all automated. AI, it's all automated now, and it's not the same.
So impersonal.
Where's the dinner show today?
Where's the live orchestra?
Yes. Yeah,
I used to enjoy, not, you know, I can't say I've been to all the shows you've gone to, but some of the shows that when I was in awe to see a full orchestra and how everyone was in precision. It was just entertainment in itself. Sometimes you won't, I found myself not looking at the headliner and just looking at different people in the orchestra. It was just something else.
It's amazing. In Jubilee, there were 250 performers backstage and on stage, costume designers. But beneath us on an elevator was the orchestra beneath the stage. It was phenomenal. And so when we had our big strike, guess what didn't come back? The orchestra. They started playing a tape.
Exactly. Well,
Canned music.
It was different.
I was in there when we were negotiating with the Musicians Union.
Yes.
And you know that's exactly what happened. They were professionals, experts, the managers, I can't think of the title of the guy who runs the orchestra leader.
Yeah.
All of them. It was very classy, very nice. All went to tape. All went
and we the patron, we said, why would they do that? But we knew why. It was the bottom line.
It's absolutely the bottom line.
And unfortunately, people got used to it, and then Vegas started changing from dressing up to kind of dressing down.
Yeah, it would be jeans and shirt, no tie, no nothing.
But there's still places. Do you know of places now, right now in Vegas, where you still have that regiment of people dressing up?
Oh, absolutely. There's still 5-star restaurants. There's still that elegance and class, and you would feel very out of place, so you actually wouldn't be allowed in. There's a dress code, and so you'd have to adhere to it. Sometimes you get a high roller that has a lot of money, and they have to pay a little extra to go into a special room, and they can dress how they want. But
Sinatra's or some of the places at Bellagio, you got to dress up.
You have to.
You're not going to walk in there.
I want you to talk about how it was to be in the show Jubilee, and how many years did it run?
Oh, Jubilee had ran almost 40 years.
Wow.
80s. It started in 1982, and it just ended not too long ago. It ended not too long. So I went in as a very young girl, student at UNLV, auditioned, didn't realize that I was going to be selected over my friends who really, really wanted the job. Mm-hmm. And I got it and opened my eyes, because the very night that I got to see the show from the light booth, I was blown away. But something struck me odd. I noticed that all of the black dancers were separated. They were group 3 and group 4. They were kind of like headliners, but not. It's like the show would open, and then the black kids would come out, the black kids would go off, and the show would keep going, so they were in and out. And I thought, wait a minute, this don't feel right. But I realized the show wasn't racist. It was a period time show. On the Titanic, I don't think there were no black folks on the Titanic. Mm-hmm. But on that show, the black dancers, the girls were maids and the boys were butlers.
In the show itself.
In the show, forever. And then in Samson and Delilah, where the bull, the pulls down the walls, the black guys were the servants, and the girls they had snakes wrapped around us, and we had to go out and dance. We had the best choreography, but we were separate. And I kept thinking, that don't feel right. And then there was the red, white, and blue number, kind of like the Rockettes type of thing. Mm-hmm. And we were marching and kicking, and there were no black girls on that.
At all?
Nope. Yeah, and all the principal dancers were, like, you had to be 6 foot tall, blonde, pretty much 6 foot tall to carry those huge costumes. So we couldn't necessarily be the principal. Those times did change. I believe there was a Caucasian lady in the audience. She complained that this wasn't right, and she went to the NAACP.
Good for her.
And they contacted, I want to say, Bill D'Angelo, the entertainment director, and all of a sudden they started drafting us in, because there was no different. The dancing was still the dancing. It's just the creator, Don Arden, of Jubilee, he's passed away. Those were his shows, and he set them up that way. And he would say, these are my black kids, and he was very proud of it. But to someone watching the show, they were like, are you kidding me? And so, but we had the best numbers, because the finale, we were in Gershwin. These gorgeous, I have a photo of us in the Gershwin costume, but meanwhile, the costumes were phenomenal. Like one feather cost $175.
Wow.
And so you would have on costumes, headdresses were like 40 pounds. So we did all the heavy dancing, and the other girls got to walk and be beautiful. Plus, there were no black girls that were topless. So we were dancers.
Okay,
that's the difference between a showgirl and a dancer. A showgirl is topless. And a dancer has clothes on, and she's dancing her brains out. No.
Well.
So yeah,
So,
I know there's some history you guys probably didn't know, and I hope it's okay to say on the
share
show,
it with us.
because things have changed now. That they really mixed the show in. It was beautiful. Although Siegfried and Roy was not segregated, the Casino du Paris was not separated. The Lido wasn't. Jubilee was the one, and that's the show that we were in. We had the most gorgeous black girls.
My goodness.
Gorgeous, long, tall. So we were like I don't want to say the envy of the strip, but they really said great things about us. We did phenomenal dancing and costumes. It's just sometimes you go, oh, I don't want to do this number. But you went out and you smiled and you kicked high and you did your thing. So,
what black dancer, if you had a black mentor type of dancer that really inspired you?
Oh, wow. Everyone from Debbie Allen to Alvin Ailey, even Juliet Prowse. I mean, dance was my life. I loved performing, so it wasn't a color barrier for me. Ben Vereen,
Right.
phenomenal. Sammy Davis. I like the art of dancing and moving. So I think dance is one of the most amazing form of self-expressions that you can give. So I encourage young kids, dance, understand your body and how it operates. And so...
Didn't Europe give the black entertainer a platform a lot more, I would say you could be yourself, not like the indoctrination that we were.
Well, we were appreciated in France and places like that, and Josephine Baker. And
Josephine Baker.
It's and for our music and our dance, we were appreciated. Not that we weren't appreciated here. I just don't think they weren't ready. Didn't understand
Our
how
society was
bias.
ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned one of the dancers that you looked up to. Was that Sammy Davis Jr.'s wife? Was that the Alfie or
No, Aldavis Davis was a dancer, as is Leslie Uggams, as is Lola Falana. But I said Juliet Prowse. Do you remember who she was?
Of course,
Yeah.
we did Movie
Gorgeous.
Velvet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Margaret. Cher, Dinah Ross. I could go and watch those shows and just be in heaven to see the costumes and the way they changed clothes and they performed, and even to Patti LaBelle. So.
Well, you know something, when people have those triple threats, they can dance and they can sing. You were naming them.
Yes.
Debbie Allen.
Yes.
And then she was a great choreographer. But when you have that triple threat, you're beautiful, you can sing, you can dance, you're versatile. And some of the ladies that you were talking about were all of that.
Absolutely.
They had, that versatility.
How was an audition? Is it like the movie where you've got to go out there and very stressful?
Well, yes. My first audition, because I didn't know what to expect, and I did very well. But once you under contract and you know your contract is coming up, and they bring in a whole new group of, you got to audition for your spot again. Yes. And if you've gained weight or things didn't work out, they have been watching you with a microscope in the light booth, binoculars to see what's going on. And so you bring in a new group. So a lot of dancers were stressed out during the audition process. I was blessed because I was the line captain. I was the boss of the groups of girls that
Oh my God,
and that means I was a swinger. I can do everyone's position. So captains were in a good place. When it came time to audition, we did the choreography for all these new dancers.
I see.
And so, but I watched a lot of crying,
It
a lot
would be
of
hard
tears.
to replace you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. But what happened? Don Arden was kind of a little bit of a tyrant. He would come and he'd say, "Get off my stage," and you're this, and so that stuff is real. It really happened like that.
So you saw a lot of tears.
I saw a lot of tears, men and women, boys and girls.
But that kind of pressure can either make you or break you.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it made you.
Absolutely.
And it made some of the dancers that stayed on the strip for years. You know.
There was a woman, her name was Fluff LaCoe. She was the company manager. And Fluff LaCoe was in the movie Casino. And she's passed on since now. But she started as a dancer like in Oklahoma somewhere herself. But to become the company manager, to oversee over 200 performers and costumes and everything, she had a heavy burden to bear. And she was like a mother. That woman was a mentor to me. She didn't know, but I watched how she made everything happen, and she just made it work. There's no such thing as it won't. The show must go on, and so she did that. And I carried that on to my business practices and things that I do to this day, working with young people.
That's
As you stayed, how long were you with that particular show?
I was in the show
Jubilee.
12 and a half years.
Wow.
12 and a half years.
Were there a lot of change? Well, you just shared with us there were some social changes in because of the lady that went to the NAACP. But what other changes did you see?
There were a lot of changes because the height got a little shorter. Yeah. I mean, after me, there weren't the girls on our line were, when I came in, they were like 6 feet tall. 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1". It started going down. I think it got down to about 5'7" to about 5'9", just because the taller girls weren't showing up. I believe that you can get on cruise ships. There's a lot of People were going to Europe
They
to
had
perform.
options,
They
a
had
lot of
options. Yes, and it became hard to find girls that could really dance because all the dancers were trained, ballerinas, everything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's not a lot of ladies that are 6 foot. And
My daughter is
athletics-
6 foot tall. She's
When she
gorgeous.
told me that, I'm thinking that's
Yes.
good genes going on or something.
Right.
And her dad is 6'10", so she's 6 feet tall.
You know her John Flowers that played for the Rebels. Her last name is Flowers.
Yes.
She was
That's
And
and
so
that's
our
why
daughter,
her daughter's so tall. John is 6'10".
oh my goodness. There you
And
go.
what a heck of an athlete. Now, did your daughter get into dance also?
she got into dance, and she's a professional singer and a songwriter. So she took after her mama in the artsy side. She didn't do sports at all, but she is amazing.
But I'm sorry.
No.
Modeling and dance is sport.
But it is athletic.
It is.
Dance is athletic.
The whole thing you've described is analogous to athletics. The audition, then worried about when your contract's up to make the team again.
And they threw hard combinations at you, things that you weren't used to. So the dancers that stayed in class during the day, danced at night, were able to pick up that combination. But if you had just rested on your laurels and just did your regular show every day, when it came time to audition, they were throwing some new stuff at you.
The movie Chorus Line, that's what I was thinking.
There you go.
Okay, that's where I got that. You're treated. It's tough.
How about ladies that would have children? Was it difficult for them to have a child and then bounce back and get back online?
No. You want to know why? I did. As a matter of fact, I
but
left
you're
the
different.
show
You're different.
and went
You
to
were
France,
raised-
and Chanel was born, and I came back, and I auditioned to get back in the show, and I did. As a matter of fact, I left the show 3 times. One to go to Israel, the other one to go to Paris, another one to go to Germany, and I came back and auditioned and got back in the show. But I had favor with Fluff because of being a captain. So there are quite a few talented dancers, male and female, that go to school, go to UNLV, they get their degree, and they're still dancing. Why are they dancing? Because they're making a lot of money, and going to school and able to subsidize their income. So,
Ron Dill's. Remember
Vicky Dale was
Vicky
my
Dale.
captain.
Vicky
Yes, she
Dale.
and I went in the show together.
Yeah.
And she's Dr. Vicky
Yes.
Dale, yes.
And she's at UNLV.
UNLV.
Yes.
What does she
Absolutely.
do?
Vicky Dale. Okay, Ron Dale was a former Rebel ball player.
Okay.
And we would all. I had a group of guys that would travel through the Far East, and they were all Rebel ball players. Ron Dale was one, and your ex-husband, was another. And we would go to Singapore, Taipei.
Oh, this
Hong
was
Kong.
the teen that you brought over.
Right. Uh-huh.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah, and was sponsored by Caesars. But I tell you, those genes, your daughter had tremendous genes.
Is she here or in LA?
She's here in Las Vegas. She's actually doing a show today over at the World Mart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and last week she worked at Caesars for the fashion week for magic and stuff. Yeah,
That's great.
So she's a singer and a dancer.
and an actress. She's an amazing
triple
actress
threat
as well.
again.
She's a triple threat.
Yeah, she's
Yes, and so is her mama.
I love
Go
that.
ahead now.
I love that.
I wanted to ask you. So we talked about the evolution in restaurants and some more about entertainment. Have you noticed the headliners have been replaced by shows like the Cirque shows and why do you think that happened?
I can't put my finger on it, but I do believe that they wanted to see something more than feathers and show dancers. I think that kind of ran its course. So Cirque du Soleil was able to come in, and everyone's an acro. These are not dancers. These are people that are contortionists and different things like
Gymnasts,
that.
yes.
Gymnasts. And so to have a Celine Dion in even her show, she needs to have those little tiny dancers that can flip and carry on. So it made it very hard for the dancer. And I think in the hotel, it was just easy to contract one big company, and you guys figured out.
Exactly. I think you're
It just
Some
makes-
of that evolution, I think you will agree with me. It had a lot to do the changing of entertainment to do with our marketplace. At one time, we were totally a domestic marketplace. It wasn't
international.
It wasn't international. Now, everyone that comes in to see a show or a circus show or a magic show, you don't have to talk a language to understand when an elephant disappears. I mean, that everybody understand that. You don't have to say, hey, in English. So a lot of these shows were created for our international guests that maybe didn't speak our language. If they were to go to see a show liner or a headliner, now those names have changed because the marketplace have gone from baby boomers to
it's coming
what's the next to millennials.
And back in the day, to come to Vegas as an artist, it was like you're on the down slope of your career. So it was okay for a Dinah Ross or a Cher. If you were a young artist, you wanted to be on the road traveling. Now they can't wait to get to Las Vegas and get a residency here because they can, like Usher just left and he made a boatload, sold out every night, and he'll be gone and come back in December. J-Lo, everyone's doing it because Vegas is the place. It's international. It's a very sexy backdrop. People want to come to Las Vegas, eat and gamble and have fun. This is an incredible place.
Well, the name entertainers are coming back. I mean, you could look at like Resorts World Las Vegas. The bookings that they have running is a pretty incredible lineup. So, God, Miley opened up, and I think Celine is going to have a long run there, very expensive. So it's in those big integrated resorts, that kind of entertainment seems to be the draw.
Yeah, so the personalized stuff isn't like it used to be, although I miss that because it made Vegas very classy to me then. Now you get your ticket and you go in and you see a big show and it's not personal. You can't even forget about King's Row.
Exactly.
That don't even exist anymore.
No, that's gone. You buy your ticket, and that's your seat.
There's a thing, and I want to ask you because I know you're into show business has been your life. This concept called writers. The headliner will come in and say, I want champagne, I want this, I want that. What's a writer that you can think of that was kind of like over the top writer? You can mention the entertainer if you like, but what was some of the crazy or? Are
you talking back from Sammy Davis or the people today?
Yeah, let's go back to Sammy Davis.
Let's go back. Well, their writers back then. Actually, to me, don't seem ridiculous now. They were pretty modest. The things that they wanted from their champagne, their food, the way the towels were set, they were pretty standard. Although Sammy had to dress on the West Side and come through the kitchen. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the artists today, like whatever Usher wanted, his writer is off the Richter scales as far as what he needs from the entourage on down. And so back in the day, to me, from Anne Margaret, those writers were pretty reasonable based on what we see. They're so different compared to today.
What can you name? Can you identify a writer that's like kind of really out there? And you don't have to name the artist.
Excuse me. Explain to people who might be watching this. Writer.
But basically, it's a one sheet of the things that they need. I don't want to say their demands.
Fritos, Coca-Cola, or
from the candy to the type of linen, the color of the room. It has to be this particular color. My sheets have to be like this. I need some simple ones. It depends on the type of artist that you're looking for. Because if it's in the music business and they are in rapping, they want to gamble. So that's in their rider. Is that normal?
I don't know. They can go on stage and make a lot of money and leave it right there in the casino.
That's what
hold your money up and put it in your pocket and double your money.
That's the only way you can double your money.
Yes.
But wow, that's
Well, when I worked in Bally's, they had, and MGM was 2 showrooms, the Ziegfeld showroom with Jubilee, and then the Celebrity. So you'd have Dean Martin in there, and all the, from Lionel Richie on down. And so we were able to commingle, and they would invite us to show people to, participate. Sammy would actually rent out movie theaters in town. Oh. The Cinedome movie theater, he would rent it out, and just for the show kids, he'd have garbage cans full of garbage pails of champagne. He'd buy up the theater, so it would be like at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning until 6 a.m. and pay for all the hot dogs and just everything. He liked to entertain all the time.
Entertain the entertainers.
He liked to entertain the entertainers. He appreciated us, and so we were very grateful, because a lot of people don't do that. And so I'm sure the hotel probably took care of that. That might have been on his rider. I need a movie theater. I need, those types of things.
Speaking of generosity, did you, I know that Elvis was a friend of your uncle. Did you ever hear of Elvis giving cars away? And
I didn't. I was kind of young then.
I've heard those stories.
Yeah.
I think you're special people.
Exactly. I know for sure what Frank Sinatra did for us was incredible. Remodeled our whole home so that it would be handicap ready with ramps, the sunken tubs with jacuzzis in them, and he just redid all of that. And Mel Tremé, a lot of great
this is
people.
Because of Mr. Lewis.
Yes, when he had his blood pressure stroke attack at Caesars, and he even flew him to Houston Methodist Hospital, where Dr. DeBecky performed open heart surgery on him, and his daughter, our little cousin Janet, who drowned as well. So it was pretty tragic, but Frank Sinatra and friends came to the rescue.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. A lot of people don't know those other stories of these entertainers and what they do.
Yeah.
Things like that.
We would have, at Christmas time, Francis Sinatra and Barbara would show up with gifts at our door. I don't know if people knew his name was Francis. I didn't until one. Yeah.
So not Frank. Francis.
It was Francis.
Frank would show up at the door with gifts.
Yes, and people like George Foreman.
This knocks me out. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and George Foreman and Tommy Hearns. It's just amazing.
Tommy Hearns
would go roller skating. It was just an
Detroit
amateur
guy.
At the time.
Yeah.
Kronk Boxing would come to town. Emmanuel Stewart and all those guys, and from Leon and Michael Spinks. Everyone stopped at Joe's.
Yes. That is amazing. You have lived a life of just seeing some of the best entertainers, athletes as well.
I can only wait to see how you transferred the triple threat skill set to the business world.
Yes.
How'd that happen?
It's interesting. It happened on stage. I was dancing one night. We went out to the opening number, and I did the numbers. How do you do the numbers? I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm kicking my leg up high, and it hit me. Oh my God, somebody's getting rich and it's not me. Because I did the numbers, 2 shows a night, 6 nights a week, 2 shows a night, and it was $67.50 per person. I was like, oh my goodness. And I can't complain because that's the contract I signed. I'm a part of their show. I realized I have to get my own show. I said I can't, and I hear dancers sing and they perform, and they're all complaining because they want to be the principal. Everyone's complaining, but we're performing because we love to dance. Mm-hmm. We love to perform. But then it hit me. I said, I've got to get my own show. And I actually put together a show to take to St. Thomas, to the Frenchman's Reef. And I had even the gauchos that were going to come. The deal fell apart before we can get there. That was a blessing.
Okay.
Because on stage one night in stretching, I realized there's another show, because I love developing young people and teaching. And that's how I got into being a talent manager, representing actors and models and singers and dancers, teaching them what I knew, how to do, and opening the doors, meet the right agents. And now I'm producing films and casting.
So you put your emphasis on the business instead of the show. There's show business, but the people that's making the big money are the ones
Exactly.
exploiting the
Isn't
show.
Exactly.
As a business.
And I couldn't be mad because I said they're brilliant. I thought, oh my goodness, how did I miss this one? But I was so happy to be a part of the show. But then I thought, I
come on
changed
now.
that.
Take advantage of it. That's what they're doing. It's like the musical, the music business. You know, the singer, the artist who sings, but who makes the money? It's the back up here somewhere. You know.
And I couldn't get. I was actually glad to finally see like my light bulb went on.
Mm-hmm.
Then I said, Kim, you got to kick this
You
into
had an
gear.
epiphany
I had
on
an
stage.
epiphany.
On stage.
Well, I was singing. I was smiling, kicking my leg up, and
Thinking.
I'm watching all these people look at me like this. I thought, okay, there's a shift.
Somebody getting paid
There's a
a
shift.
whole lot of money, and they're not sweating. You know something?
It's like the fight game too.
But my Uncle Joe told me I wanted to go to Pepperdine, and he said, stay in Las Vegas, Kim. This is where you need to be. I didn't know what he meant because Vegas is a town. It's about who you know. More importantly, who knows you. Mm-hmm. And it's a small knit town that people are connected, and relationships mean everything.
Yes.
A lot of the relationships, I can tell you right now, the high school that you went to, Gorman, a lot of the affluent people that kind of ran this town, that did run this town, their kids went to Gorman.
Absolutely.
So you
the
knew
Romeos, the
movers and shakers in high school.
That happened in Southern California at my wife's school, Mater Dei, which is a big rival of Gorman's. But you're right. Fertitas, I mean, we could go down the list.
Yes.
You know, who else? Jim, the TV owner.
Jim Rogers?
Jim Rogers.
Jim Rogers?
I think his
Yes.
son,
Perry Rogers.
was another Gorman alumnus. Wow.
And the I would say at one time Mr. Facento, they called him Hokey.
Oh yeah.
They had a lot of guys that were dealers that went to school at Gorman. You know, they had their whole crew there. So Gorman was really a place where you got to network with some of the cream de la cream of.
Gladys Knight came and put her kids in Gorman. Everyone went there, and so it was.
I had a chance to go to Gorman, but
you turned them down.
I turned them down because I had gone to Our Lady of Las Vegas, St. Peter's. I mean, I was altar boy, Ecum Spiritu Tuo, Remus Dominus Patus et Filius.
Oh my goodness. Dr. Wright.
I knew all the Mass in Latin.
Yes.
And I kind of, when my parents gave me a choice, they say, do you want to go to Gorman? And I would have been there with David Hum, who turned out to be a great quarterback.
Yes.
Lori
Nebraska. And we were in the 5th grade together. But I kind of, it was.
Where'd you go to Las Vegas?
Pardon me?
What school did you go to, Las Vegas?
No, I went to Western.
Okay.
I went from Our Lady of Las Vegas, and when my parents gave me the opportunity to make my choice, we went to Garside when it first opened up. Mm-hmm. We went to Garside, and to compare and contrast people like yourself that went through the parochial system, and this is not a stereotype. They're more disciplined.
Well,
they're more disciplined. I mean, we had to sit like this in class. I mean, if you didn't, the nuns will.
The sisters.
Those days.
The old thing with the sisters and the ruler was true.
Now. That is true.
And separation of the boys and girls when my wife was.
Yes.
I think our parochial background really made us more disciplined academically, as well as people that understood what it took to be successful, and that is to focus and to exert energy into that focus.
I think this is a subject we'll have to do somewhere down the road. Public schools are failing. And why would it be where, the schools that you're talking about have all the wherewithal? We don't. We've got 45 students in a classroom, old books, one teacher. Nah. So.
At Gorman, I got a C on a paper, and Sister Margaret Mary, a C. Sister Margaret Mary called the house. When I got home, my Aunt Martha sat me down, and she said, Sister Margaret Mary called today, and she wanted to know what's wrong in the home that this child is getting a C. There's just no explanation. So my aunt said, you know what you need to do? Do you know I got an A next? Because there was the fact that the nun called the house and put everyone on alert. I knew I had to pull it up, so it was like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
So,
is there any issues at home that we need to know about?
So she basically answered your questions in compare and contrast with public school and private school. It's, you have stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the administration. They're all stakeholders in your success. I'm not saying that our public school, because I graduated from Western and I've gone on to do things as well. Western, but back in those days, Western was the school district was a lot better. But what we have to also understand is that Las Vegas was the fastest growing city in America for years, and so we were overwhelmed with kids and not enough instructors. So that could have done that. So I'm not putting down the instructors that are in public school now, because they have their hands full with 45 in the class.
I substituted K through 12.
Oof.
Man, I mean sub, but I seen what was in those classrooms. I never subbed at a private school, and there are some good ones. Meadows, the Goodman, Mrs. Goodman started up.
Great school.
But I can see how the light went on is another important thing for people to hear. Numbers. That's it.
Exactly.
And so did you ever develop your own show?
As a matter of fact, I did, but I think at that moment it wasn't supposed to be, because I would have been in a foreign country and it could have gone any different way, and I really wasn't experienced to really understand the business in another country. I got to see it the stateside, and it looked attractive. I thought, this is very simple. I'll just put the choreography together. I'll hire this. We'll get the costumes. We'll go over there. But it didn't happen. And then I was able to purchase a franchise of a John Robert Powers. In actuality, that happened by chance. I was in the show, and when it came along, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I've been living in Europe. I knew I believed in fashion and acting and modeling. Everything I've ever done, I took a class to get better. So I believe in teaching and developing and training. And so I became very successful with that, being the first African American to ever own and operate a franchise of a John Robert Powers.
And you're so right. When I was traveling with the guys for 3 years running, going to Singapore, Taipei, Hong Kong, I'm with a bunch of athletes. There are some different things that can happen, and you're responsible for it. If any of my guys got into a tiff at a nightclub, they come and wake up the coach. They come wake you up. And one time in Singapore, I was awakened to guys with machine guns, man.
Wow.
I'm saying, man, what's going on? Well, one of my guys got into a fight in Singapore, and they don't play around. That wasn't
John, was it?
No, it wasn't John. No, it wasn't. John is not a fighter. I mean, he's a fighter on the court, but he's a real nice guy.
Mellow,
He's a mellow guy. But no, that comes with a lot of responsibility, because they're going to come to you if someone gets hurt, if someone goes to jail.
Yes.
And you got to know their culture.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's got to go both ways. I would not to change things here, but I got to tell you this quick story.
Sure.
Where the Hacienda and Fire and Ice was on, and the Fire and Ice had the gals and skates and dancers. I mean, they had almost like dancers.
And this is when you were the general manager.
Yeah, and every night the show filled up pretty good. I think it was 400 people showroom, and it filled up pretty good. And I would watch the people kind of go out, and they were all crowded. It was slow getting out. I go, man, I cannot let these people go out of the showroom, and get in a bad mood. I need music as they leave. So I had the sound guy during the daytime. He put on Little Eva's song "Locomotion." Okay, and now they're doing their thing on stage. Every one of them stopped and start doing their
Dance.
own thing. And I'm going, that's what is going to happen to the crowd. Anyway, I loved it. It's just.
And some of that innovation just happens, just like you had your epiphany. Some of those innovative things that happen, it's in entertainment. It's all about creativity.
God, yeah.
Sometimes it just flashes on you, and you say, "Hey, that's the ticket. That may work." How many times have that occurred with you? Besides you knowing that you wanted to go put more emphasis on business instead of the show.
It happens often, but I look for that. I listen, so I've learned to just observe, and it'll come to you like, oh, I can do it like this, and so it happens a lot. I might be in rooms. I never was a producer before, so I thought. Little did I know I had been producing almost all of my life. That's creating, and so when I got the opportunity to cast a major film, to find the stars and put in and then produce, I just listened. And before you know it, all of a sudden they think I'm amazing, but it's because I listened. So
how did you get that when we saw the credits roll on Rocky IV, was it?
Yes.
And that was you, the beautiful showgirl, and they were running. How did that happen?
You know, that's it's very lucky, I should say. Because when it goes in the editing floor, the editor is the one who decides what happens. A lot of people didn't get in the cut. Somebody chose me to be there. Does that make sense? It was supposed to happen just like that, because all those other dancers, they chose me. So how does it happen? I like to give all the credit to God, actually.
Absolutely.
I like to give all
intervention.
that He's looking out for me. That's all I can say,
And
because
I agree with you
anybody
wholeheartedly.
could have had that, but it was up to me. As a matter of fact, during the show, I must have had more favor, because between Sylvester Stallone and several of the gentlemen, Tony Burton was his name, an actor, he continued to say, there's something special about you, and he left a gift for me at the captain's desk when they left. And then what was it? It was an actual Bible was saying, dance for the Lord. And it was a scripture like Matthew 23 or something, dance. It's a parable of talents. And I thought, wow. So I began to read. So it was meant to be. And maybe he said, make sure that girl gets in the final cut. I don't know.
Was Joe Louis, and you could answer this if you like or not, was he a very spiritual man?
He was, but we went to First Baptist Church here down by Bridger, near where Las Vegas High School is. And that was the church that we went to. And he would go, maybe because my aunt kind of was, like, she made everybody go. But he went to church. He wasn't very, you didn't hear him say hallelujah and all that good stuff, but he was very quiet, soft-spoken, and I know he had a great relationship with God.
Did he ever talk about any of his fights with you? Or
Not
to the
really,
family?
but let me tell you what he did talk about. I had to do a book report on I did it on Billie Holiday. And so I'm doing all the research. He came into the dining room one day. He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing a book report on Billie Holiday. He said, oh, that old girl. I said, what? That old girl? I said, you knew her? He said, she was my woman. We had an apartment in Harlem. And I said, what? And he shared with me why he broke up with her. He came in and she was shooting up in her foot.
Oh, my God.
And he said, I couldn't do that. Yeah. I got an A on that book report, by the way, because he gave me a lot of firsthand information. But
what kind of research is that?
I don't know, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, I would give you an A on the report.
That's
too.
qualitative research.
Yeah.
Not quantitative. Qualitative. That was firsthand.
Firsthand. Yeah. And so he loved to watch sports and golf. And when he was home, he was there with the kids. There's Joyce, who works for the city, his middle daughter. Well, actually, it's only Joyce, Johnny, Janet, and JoJo. And so
one of his son is a lawyer, right?
Yeah, that's his Joe Jr. There's actually two Joe Jr. The oldest one, he's in his 70s. He's an attorney, and he's also over the Tiger Woods Golf Foundation with youth down there. And Ponchi's done very well. There's Joe Louis Jr. He's opened the Joe Louis Southern Cafe Kitchen in Detroit, partnering with the Pistons to do a whole bunch of stuff. And the mayor there just took 27 miles in Detroit, their fairway, to call it the Joe Louis Fairway, safe zone, parks and everything. And there's
You
Johnny.
were just in Detroit.
I
about
just
that.
went there for the grand
And
opening.
Billy Taylor is from Detroit. He
Yes.
just
Oh,
left
the
it.
gentleman who just left.
Yes.
Cool beans, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Lot
that's
of-
great.
It's a lot of great, people from certain sectors of you see all of this talent. Detroit, Motown had so much talent there.
I was inspired by Motown. I mean, I read the books and I love the Supremes. I wanted to be one of those when I grew up. And my aunt said, you can do that if you want to. And I thought about it. Those girls had started off with hard knock lives. They came from the projects. Their mothers sewed their little costumes, but they got up and they performed. They gave it their all. And that was some inspiration for me as
When
well.
I was in Detroit,
Very
and I
good,
think
yeah.
you remember this, I was recruited
yes.
to go to Detroit before gaming got there to train the first gaming unit.
Wow.
And I would just hang out with cops, and we would go to different bars, and guys would come in. You think that they're homeless people? They get to the piano and get to playing. I'm saying, oh my goodness, all this live music everywhere we went, everything was live, man.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome. I tell you, another thing that I wanted to ask you about your uncle. When it was getting close to the end, you were around him, right? All of the people the pouring out of love for him. I know that they were doing some things in Vegas that they knew that the champ was getting close to death, and they started doing all of this stuff for him. Can you share with us?
Everything from a committee that Frank Sinatra had put together, and from Telly Savalas. I think there was the head table had about 30 of the biggest stars in television. They were there, and from Howard Cosell to Muhammad Ali and everyone, they roasted him, so to speak. It was amazing. From Phyllis Diller, I mean, just everyone. And the family was there, so there was a lot of fundraising for him and love poured out.
Was that in Las Vegas?
It was here in Las Vegas, and my uncle had 2 funerals. The first one was at Caesar's Palace in the boxing ring, and his pallbearers were Jesse Jackson, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Michael Spinks, and then he was buried at Arlington Memorial, and initially they were not going to bury him there because they said it was for 5-star generals, and there was a gentleman that you guys might know. He was a casino host, and he worked with Muhammad Ali. Gene Kilroy. He got on the horn and got to calling people, and we got a big apology, and my uncle body was shipped there. They did a funeral, and my Aunt Martha is also buried at Arlington Memorial because
he also did a lot of stuff for the United States in raising
he was
money,
in the
right?
all of his boxing matches when he was in the military. He donated every single dime, his purses, back to the military, and the IRS taxed him on those dollars.
That's ridiculous.
And that was a part of the biggest downfall.
You said a general said no to him.
No, whomever there at Arlington, they said only 5-star generals are buried here. And they said Joe Louis served in the military. And I want to say, who was the president? Was it Reagan? 83, 4, 5. It was Reagan, because we have pictures with the president.
Wow.
And then a few years later, my Aunt Martha died, and she was buried there as well. So they're both buried at Arlington Memorial. He is an American hero, for sure.
I don't.
For sure.
May I ask you this?
Yes.
He gave all of his money to the armed services, and then the IRS came back and taxed him for it?
Yes.
What sense does that make?
That makes no sense at all. There's got to be other issues.
And on top of that, I'll never forget the day that he died. Like 2 days later, I got a phone call in the house for him. It was the IRS. I'm like, he's not here anymore. It was.
And Yeah, I mean there's some.
Is that mean spirited?
Yes,
what?
I would say so. Yes.
We knew Frank.
I'm
We
sorry.
knew Red Fox very well, and he lived over on Eastern. And he had issues with the IRS as well.
He did.
Yes.
He had a house on Eastern. He
On
was
Eastern.
at the Hacienda.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
was there, kind of in between with him.
That
He
is
packed him. Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Yes.
That's unfortunate.
No, that's a sad story, and another, one of those things that you wonder.
It falls under the auspices of institutionalized racism. Different institutions, whether it's the banking institution where you can't get a loan, the redlining where you can't live where you want to live. It's a part of the DNA of America. And I'm not saying that Americans
Some systems that were in place.
it's the policies and it's not so much the people, but it's ingrained in our systems. It's unfortunate.
Before World War II started, Max Baer and your uncle fought. Am I right?
Yes.
And then Joe Louis comes back. Joe Louis comes back, and I think knocked him out in the first round, or it was pretty close to it. That's an American hero before we went to war with Germany.
Before we went to war to fight Max Schmeling.
Max Schmeling.
Max Schmeling, that was the great hero for Germany.
I'm sorry, yes.
And Joe Louis, that defeat of him was America winning all over
yes.
again.
That alone, that's like Jesse Owens in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them should be in wherever, Arlington, yes.
Yeah, being a hero transcends the color of your skin or gender.
Amen.
Or nationality or being a mentor or a leader. It transcends that. Intelligence, all of that transcends that. But there are sectors of people that want to keep people in their mind in their place.
Yeah.
And those things, thank God, are coming to an end. Yeah, we had a little bubbling up this last this last presidency. We had a little bubbling up of that, and it unleashed the worst part of America, and just split us up, and that's unfortunate. But seeing all of that love for Joe with Francis Sinatra and Frank Sinatra and all of these entertainers, they didn't have those type of problems.
No.
I wonder.
People like Ken Norton and Jimmy Young, and it was just so many great people, athletes, and pouring of regular folks that just said, Joe, we love you. Joe Louis, the great brown bomber. My father knew you. We used to listen to you on the radio. We got a lot of those calls. So that was pretty amazing.
No.
And Vegas really did nice by our family as well, because at one time before I even moved here, my uncle lived in the hotel, lived in Caesars until the house was built, the one that they got from Johnny Carson, and remodeled it. So yeah, I miss old Las Vegas. I mean, just the class that Vegas had when you'd go by, and there was the baccarat table. Things were different. Now it's just a lot. It's just big. It's a lot going on in every hotel.
Have 17 of the largest hotels in the world. These mega resorts.
It's corporate world.
These mega resorts, man.
It's so big that you don't have to leave one hotel. Everything's in there. How many shows are there in town? Like 80 some odd shows. Which show do you go and see? Which lounge act? It's a lot. So
that's why you have to have a winner. That's what I was I was talking about the Rebel basketball team. I mean, you have so many choices now that you almost have to win for people to come see you.
True.
Although we're diehard Rebel fans, I'm a Rebel alumni. There are people out there, they love the Rebels, but let me go see the hockey team.
It's a win. You win.
Yeah. This town is all about winning. Gambling is all about winning. That's the bottom line.
But back in the days of the Rebels, that was amazing.
Those were good
basketball and football. It was that's the whole city supported.
Yes.
At that time,
and it brought the city together.
We were together.
When the Rebels were winning, you would see people hugging out there that wouldn't even talk to each other.
The night that they won the championship was like New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And horns, people driving down Maryland Park, wherever you were. you
They
were
brought the
celebrating.
community together. I want to ask you about some of the people, some of the young people that you've mentored. Can you name some of the people that you've mentored that have gone on
To do great things?
to
Yes.
do some successful?
Well, just recently, and this is important to me, that this graduating class of high school that are going on, young lady Sabrina Beville's full ride scholarship to San Diego State University.
Wonderful.
Another young man who's studied at Pepperdine and now going over to London to study international business, and another young lady, Ella Ray Sanders, graduate valedictorian, and she's going to Howard. She wants to be a Supreme Court justice. These kids are amazing.
Yes.
By your theory, she will be.
She will be. I believe
is this
that.
Gorman graduates or is this
No,
across the board?
These are in regular public schools. A young man, he'll be the first
That
person
she
in his
mentored.
family to go to college. He's going to UNR, and they're valedictorian. These kids are very smart. So to me, when I teach you acting, modeling, singing, dancing, education is king.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be getting good grades, and then you're rewarded to do this extra stuff. I can help you get there to the next level if you have keeping your grades up and you're a great kid at home, because I'm worse than the police.
You
Okay.
know something? No, check
I
this
love
out.
that one.
Now check this out.
Yes, sir.
But she had a great mentor that poured that into you,
Yes,
Martha.
she did.
And you're actually giving it, passing it on. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids tell me, thank you, Miss Flowers, for teaching me to love and laugh and be my best version of myself. Because I tell them, you have what you say. Whatever you say, that's what you're going to do. And so they want to achieve. I just booked 7 people in a new film that's shooting here in Las Vegas, Prisoner's Daughter, starring Kate Beckinsale and
goodness, yes.
Brian Cox. And so I booked 7 leads in that, and then I'm going to book about 35 middle schoolers. They have to all be vaccinated, of course, to be in the film, because they're shooting Saturday and Sunday, September, they're like 3rd and 4th, whatever. So, and then there's another film coming that's starring, what's his name, Wesley Snipes and Tiffany Haddish. Yes, and so I keep active, developing people and being able to help them jumpstart their careers.
Who are some of the? You've named some of them, but who are some of the?
I have a young lady, Ashley Green.
Okay.
It started with me at age 15, and she is the star in the movie called Twilight. And she played the role of Alice. And A.J. Troth, who went on to Disney, started with me at age 11. Now he's a big-time producer at Disney, but he did Even Stevens, worked with Shia LaBeouf. Calvin Klein model, supermodel Jessica Miller. She started with me at age 14. She's making millions of dollars now, lots of stuff like that. So
That is wonderful.
it's my passion. My passion is to help and develop and give back. And then I have a business hat on my mind in other areas. But every Sunday after church, I teach acting. And I pour back.
What
And
church
I got
do
a
you
little
go to?
5-year-old little girl.
Oh, my
She
goodness.
just booked a national commercial. Her name is Olivia. She's incredible. They've been on Kids Say the Darndest Thing, but I let them know it's okay to be you. It's okay. And that's where I find the magic in people being themselves. And you were just saying something?
I was saying, I know what church you went to, but what the church that you go to?
I attend Mountaintop Faith Ministries of Bishop Clinton House, and I've been a member of the church now. My daughter's 29, 28 years, and I've been on the board of directors. So,
Great church.
yeah, I love the Lord, just so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. You know, and that's where all the gifts come from.
Yes.
You know, all the gifts come. If you can tap into your gifts and your purpose, man, now you're living.
Yes.
You're living that
I
good
teach my
life.
kids, speak from your heart. You don't have to stutter. You don't have to think about it. Just speak from your heart. You'll be all right.
But you said you got two great skills: the business side and the heart. You can't have all heart. It's not going to do it. Business is not going to do it. You got to have
You
them.
gotta have
And I
that
feel
balance.
I mean,
And you'll know when deals are gonna come. You'll know the right deal.
you filled this.
Everything
room
is
here
not
today,
ready
I'm
for
telling
you. Well, thank
I
you.
mean,
I
yes,
feel
I mean,
honored to be
as a-
here.
we
This
know,
one I
we
love.
We feel honored to have you here. But I knew.
See, you knew
just-
that you did.
I knew
You
a
surprised
portion
me.
of her greatness. You know, I say lovingly my homegirl but I'm older than her.
No.
But I saw her grow up, and I saw all the good things that you were doing, not only for yourself and your family, but for other people and their families. And you continue to do that.
And I learned that from my aunt. It's what you do for others.
Reciprocity.
Yes, it's what you do for others. She was so giving to not just me, to other young people that she helped put through college and different things, and said
Ann
yes.
at Caesars, that was
Pardon me?
an attorney.
Yes, she was an attorney. Yeah, his wife. As a matter of fact, she helped him with all of the legal things with IRS as well.
For much is given, much is
required. Yes.
When you are given so much, it's required
It's
by the Creator that you pass that on.
Yeah.
You pass that on, and you are honoring that.
Thank you. I tell you a couple of things. I had one of my kids on 2 Thanksgivings ago. He said, "I'm in town, Miss Flowers. Are you available to go to lunch?" And I was like, "Sure." He says, "Are you still teaching?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Do you know what? I want you to know that it's because of you that I am a partner at the law firm, 29 years old." And he said, I was talking to my client, and I'm like, "Who's your client?" He said, "Oprah." I said, "Oh, so you're an entertainment attorney." So I'm just saying, I have kids that are doctors and lawyers, and they're not actors, but all the bases that they learned from me, that foundation, was help them to catapult into where they're going now. Artists have clients that they're so amazing, and so that gives me the reward to see that they're winning. You know, and I'm actually blessed that I'm able to touch so many lives, because I see in them when they're young. Like my aunt saw something great in me. I can see something great in folks, and I just encourage them and cheer them on. You're going to make it. You're going to be special. You got this.
Yeah, they're winning in life, and that's, and to this day and age, very difficult.
If you have heard anything that you have liked from this conversation, please hit like and subscribe to our podcast. And we would love for you to continue to join us with such great guests as Miss Kim Flowers, and all of the great things that she has done in her life. And you're just now getting started.
You sure are.
You're just now getting started.
That's
Great.
I always believe the best is now, and it gets greater.
Yes.
You know.
Thank you
And
so
I'm humbled
much.
to be here. Thank you both
God, yeah.
so much.
I'm humbled.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
sweet.
you.
I mean it.